I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by the Mayor Pro Tem, Ricky Gonsalas.
We'll start off with our Lord's Prayer. And Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Say pledge allegiance, please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas.
Present.
Councilmember Brooke Marcotte. Here. Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard.
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter.
Here.
Councilmember Dee Dee Johnson-Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Dustin Swear.
Here.
Item 1 is public comment. We don't have any public comment, but this time I'll ask you to please put your cell phones on vibrate, and we will move to item 2A.
Acceptance of the minutes of February 17th, 2021, which will publish on March 5th, 2021.
Do I have a motion?
I move.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. I need a second. Second by Councilman Lewis. Is there any discussion on our minutes from the previous meeting? Seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. Item 3A.
Sarah Gary from Acadiana Planning Commission to speak with the council about long-range planning for the roads.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Monique Boulay with the Acadiana Planning Commission. Sarah is with me. We're on the agenda tonight to talk about the Transportation Long Range Plan, which Sarah's going to talk about, but I wanted to come, I'm the CEO of the Acadiana Planning Commission, and just give you a quick little blip. The Planning Commission is made up of 7 parishes of Acadiana, and our board is made up of the president. So we work closely with Larry Richard. And over the last couple of years, Larry and I have had many conversations about how to get fiber to the premises or fiber to the home into Iberia Parish. Last week, we had a very large press conference with Congressman Higgins, Senator Cassidy, and Senator Kennedy also videoing into the conference, announcing a grant that we got from the Department of Commerce to have LUS Fiber run fiber from South Lafayette into the area around the airport and then into the city of New Iberia, which is very exciting from our perspective. Our intent, for you to know, is really to have a regional footprint. Lafayette has had a lot of stability because of fiber through the oil and gas downturn, and we'd really like to see the whole region have that kind of stability. Even in the pandemic, we've had technology companies move into Lafayette, which is crazy. But that fiber to the home it's a game changer. And when I say fiber to the home, and I don't want to take a lot of time, but there's fiber throughout our systems all over Louisiana. But if your information is flowing through fiber and it stops and goes into another delivery system like DSL or cable, you don't get the benefit of the speed of fiber. And so it has to be fiber to the building. And that's what LUS Fiber does. And so anyway, it's very exciting. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. If you have questions, quick questions, I'll answer them tonight. Or else if you want to continue the conversation, we're more than welcome. More than willing to come back and talk more. But just wanted to kind of come touch base with you guys and put it out there. Larry was really a strong voice in this. He still is a strong voice in this. He would like to see it covering the entire parish, and so would we. It's a very expensive endeavor, but it's a really good first start for that. The technology that's going to be installed will have the power to eventually go to the home should that build out happen. And so it's a really good start. And so anyway, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Comment?
It's great.
Can't thank you enough for coming. That's something that Larry and I have had a lot of conversations
Yes.
about. We did a little study probably when I first got in office 3.5 years ago on fiber, and certainly there was a big community need at the time. We did some town halls, and people were very, excited to have another option. So
Right.
can't thank you enough for coming. And
Right.
Larry and I talked today. We talk very often, and really kind of look at everything that Acadian Plan is doing. And I can't wait to hear the update. But I know that it's good for all of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank-
Monique,
Yes.
do you have a visual footprint of where fiber's coming into? I think we talked about that. I'm just curious to see where we can make an economic impact in our city.
Yeah, so I don't. I know the businesses around the airport, but it has to travel. It's going to come, so we had to, with a Department of Commerce grant, you have to hit their check boxes, right? And with the last administration, opportunity zones were a big deal. So downtown New Iberia is an opportunity zone.
Almost all of New Iberia is an opportunity zone.
Right. So there was a project, there was a business in New Iberia that has done some opportunity zone investment. So it's going to come, I'm pretty sure it's coming down Main Street. So, which is very exciting. I can't give you the exact path. I don't actually have that. But it is coming right into the heart of New Iberia. And look, in Lafayette, after LUS Fiber was established, the competition blew up. I think I've seen anywhere from 15 to 25 different providers in Lafayette. And so we're not trying to necessarily pick one provider, but LUS Fiber does only fiber to the home, and the way this grant was, it made sense to use them. But the other thing we want to see is competition blow up. We want to see all the providers come and knock on your door and see what they can bring to New Iberia. So if that alone happens, that's great. COVID has really emphasized the need to be able to upload, download, and video stream at the same time while you're doing it and 4 people in your office are doing it, or 10 people in your office. And that's where you get into tough broadband situations in those group environments. And so really trying to just give us a very strong footprint competitively, statewide, nationwide, and globally. To help our oil and gas companies that have to transition into the next economy. They have the entrepreneurial skills. They have the global capacity. Most of them have been operating on a global level, but if they can't operate on the internet at a high level, they're going to be paralyzed. And so really trying to put those seeds in and also put in infrastructure in that can be expanded out. So that's it. And
I'm sorry, I do have one question.
Oh, yes.
So when you say, I'm new to this area, so I'm not as familiar with LUS, but when you say fiber to the home, you mean businesses, but do you also mean residential homes?
Well, so fiber to the home is kind of a technical term used by the industry, meaning up to the building.
Right.
So it comes all the way to the. You could interchange fiber to the premises, fiber to the building, fiber to the home. It's kind of all interchangeable, I guess. So it's LUS, when they rolled out, they used the term fiber to the home. They did they raised a lot of money locally and went out and installed it within the city. And they still are working on the build out for the entire parish. So the towns in Lafayette have some, but they haven't completed that full build out. This was really a big stretch for them to come out of the parish. But it's a tremendously strategic move, because Highway 90 impacts us all so greatly, and that airport has so much potential. The research center there for the university is there. Can we then reach out to pharmaceutical companies and tell them, look, we're going to have this kind of infrastructure in place at whatever date, and start cold calling them? It works. Sometimes you have to make a lot of phone calls, but eventually you hit. So I think it changes the playing field. Where we can get it in, and then it can be expanded out. A grant is a limited amount of money, and so it covers a certain footprint. But it definitely will. It's really amazing technology. I've had to learn about it. I'm not a natural IT person.
What do you think the timeline is?
So once we get the notice to proceed, which should take a few weeks.
Yeah.
Probably 18 to 24 months max.
That's what I was thinking.
And as they install it, they're not going to hold off customers. As it's installed, you can sign up if you want. And it's voluntary, right? It's voluntary. It's just like any other service. It's voluntary. So it'll be those people who want to sign up for it.
Okay.
Think you'll
Thank
reach
you.
out to the Port of Iberia?
You know, I mean, I think that's a strategy we need to look at. I don't think it's going quite that far, but it won't be very far. It's a physical rollout, right? So it's not very far. So then how do we get it there? That's the next question. And we're looking at the whole region like that. How do we get it to Opelousas? This is our first step. This is our first step out. And so, you know, those questions need to be asked. And there's, with COVID, all of the federal agencies are looking at broadband, and they are actually putting billions of dollars into broadband deployment all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we all need to be thinking, okay, what's next, what's next? So, anyway, I know my husband worked at the port, so I know the challenges they have there
Yeah.
with the broadband.
Do you have any businesses at this moment connected to fiber along Highway 90?
Probably. I mean, you know, there's a lot of different providers, so I can't say that. Sometimes a business will pay for the installation, which
Correct.
can be tens of thousands of dollars.
Correct.
So my guess is you probably have, the larger businesses will make that investment because it's such a game changer, but often it's paralyzing for a smaller business to reach out and do that. So I would say probably yes. I don't know who or where. But
Great. Thank you very much. Exciting.
All right, guys.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me. So I'm here to kind of just give you guys an update on what we're doing as the MPO. Currently, we're in the process as the MPO for the area, and we cover not as many as the APC regions. We're only designated in urbanized areas. So we have Lafayette Parish, parts of Iberia Parish, and the city of New Iberia, parts of St. Martin Parish, and the city of St. Martinville and Breaux Bridge. Small portions of St. Landry Parish, including the town of Sunset, small portion of Acadia Parish, and a small portion of Vermilion Parish, including the city of Breaux Bridge. So that's kind of like the area that we cover as the MPO. And as the MPO, we're federally required to keep a 20-year long-range plan. So we're in the process of updating our long-range plan to 2045. And so we are starting tomorrow will be our first of our 4 public engagements. We have them kind of strategically placed around our areas, different areas to, you know, kind of catch different parts of the parishes that we're trying to target, and then the smaller portions, hopefully we'll catch some of Vermilion Parish with you guys. But that'll happen tomorrow between 5 and 7 at the Slyman Theater. So basically what we're just asking people to do is to come out and basically tell us, you know, where do you see your transportation issues at? You know, where do you have congestion? Where do you want to see transportation projects, whether that be an intersection improvement, a turning lane added somewhere, bike lanes, sidewalks, those types of things. For those people who maybe do not want to get out, obviously COVID is still in effect, right? And so for those that maybe don't want to get out to come to the public meeting, we do have a survey. You can go to our Facebook page and click on the link for the survey. It's a basically it's about 20 questions, and it allows us to gather the information. They're strategically asked questions, but it allows us to gather the information that we're looking for as far as transportation projects are concerned. Once we have our 4 public meetings, and we've met with you know, different entities, whether it be the school board, our transit provider, LTS, which is our fixed route system. We've talked to all of the non-fixed route providers like Council on Aging, Smile, those types of things. You know, just asking, again, the same questions, trying to get transportation feedback. We'll take everybody's compiled stuff and we will give it to our consultant who's updating our model. They'll run those projects through the model, and we'll get a list of, you know, 5, 10 projects or whatever that'll be ranked based upon those projects that have the most impact to the transportation system for the region. And then from there, because we have to be fiscally constrained, we only get so many dollars a year for transportation projects for the MPO. We'll go ahead and rank those projects based upon the funding sources that we have. And then that'll go to our policy committee. I think Ashley, May? No, May or June?
In March? Oh, yeah, in May.
In May, yeah. So it'll go probably to our policy committee in May if we get a, hopefully we're thinking that will happen at that time. But regardless, our full transportation long-range plan update has to be adopted by March of 2022. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have right now. But we really hope, you know, like I said, if you want to come out tomorrow from 5 to 7 and spend your afternoon, early evening with us, we'd appreciate that.
Questions?
Sarah, you know, previously being on the parish council, congratulations on your job. You did a good job
Thank
on
you.
the parish. But I think MPO's been in existence how long?
So the MPO has been more regionalized, I'm going to say for about 5 years. Previous to that, the MPO was, the urbanized area was strictly Lafayette Parish. So after our population is determined census-wide, and so basically in 2015 is kind of when we came out of LCG and moved under the umbrella of APC, which made us much more regionalized.
So two questions.
Mm-hmm.
What specific projects are earmarked for the city of New Iberia currently, and how far away are they? And what projects are you participating in regionally that people can put their eyes and feel and touch and see on currently?
So the two projects that we have for you guys are the US 90 Frontage Road project, and that is slated for construction fiscal year 23. And then
The frontage road where?
the Frontage Road project.
The one we've been waiting on for 9 years.
Yeah.
Loved you to death,
No,
but yeah, it's the one we need. It's the one we need.
If
Yeah.
you was talking about a different one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's one
That
that,
one with a rail crossing.
yeah.
So that one's slated for fiscal year 23. And then the second project is the Iberia Street Pavement Preservation and Bike Lane. And that one's slated for construction in fiscal year 24.
Okay, so just, and after this, I'll listen more. But the intersection of Lewis Street,
That is in Iberia Parish.
oh, it's in the parish? It's in
Yeah.
the city, right?
Mhm.
Well, we
It's-
have a little
Okay, I mean,
section in the city.
Give me the status on that one.
Okay, so that one, hold on, let me pull out my bigger piece of paper here. So the Lewis Street widening, is slated for, basically right-of-way and utilities, would be in fiscal year 22. And then construction is gonna go probably more than likely in fiscal year 23. However, what I will tell you is anytime right-of-way is involved, that sometimes holds up the process, and there's not much we can do about that. If people are not willing, to sell the property, then obviously there's a whole process that I have to go through that kind of takes longer.
So, great. So we should see some MPO money within the 22 fiscal year, somewhere in that neighborhood, in the city.
I mean, yes, it may not be, you may not see stuff on the ground, it may be all behind the scenes stuff, but, yeah, I mean, stuff is happening, it's just may not be that it's on the ground.
Yeah, and for us, for the frontage road, it's just to get our engineering started, because we have 200,000 when we were told we would have been a dormant project, we put up 200,000. Then we got, there's an additional 100 sitting there, and then we got 286,000 last year from capital outlay. And we actually asked for some more capital outlay money this year. So we're really working far past our portion of it, and it's just important to us because we have a good amount of acreage sitting there that is zone commercial, that's in our TIF district, and the reason that the catalyst for this is we could bring the sewer, the water, the parking lot, the site lighting, and everything, probably put 2 big boxes on the property the city owns. We could lease the property to them instead of sell it. What an incentive, because the city doesn't pay property tax on property that it owns. So if you look, we've got and have had some conversations with big boxes. The amount of incentives to buy us 2 more businesses, to get 2 more businesses here for the jobs and the taxes is ridiculous, but it's only on that one little bitty piece of property. We're trying to be as creative as we can, but that's the only little spot that the city owns, is in the right spot, and that frontage road really could make a difference. So we talk about the frontage road a lot. We know it's coming. We appreciate the partnership, but that is one that really, we have seen through COVID what Hobby Lobby, Rouse's, Ross Dress for Less, and Chick-fil-A has done for us. And our taxes have stayed positive because of the new businesses and people coming into town. You got to remember, New Iberia is not a very big city. Lafayette wins because we are Lafayette's economy. We all go to Lafayette. Here we're finally getting some stores that are bringing people from outside the city line that we're benefiting, and that's one reason that we have just been so hopped up to ask about, we're not trying to ambush it, but
No.
to ask about the frontage road, because it's one that really could be a game changer for us.
So what I will tell you on the frontage road, I know that there was a meeting that happened in August of 2020, and there were kind of three options that were thrown out there. The city to hire the consultant. Obviously, it's federal dollars, so what I will tell you guys is whatever you do, if you hire a consultant, it has to be done to DOTD federal FHWA standards, right? Because if it's not, then there's a whole nother issue.
Well, there's actually a set of
right?
plans sitting around here that don't meet the code,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we're not gonna do that again.
Or a DOTD can advertise for the consultant, or it's done as a permit project. So those are, I think those are the decisions that they are waiting on you, like on you guys, on your side to make what side, what.
Well, we'll get a meeting tomorrow, because
yeah.
I can give you the answer. That's,
right, we've been
yeah,
trying
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so, I mean, those are, I just happened to get an email yesterday that I happen to be CC'd on.
Okay.
So that's the only reason
Good.
why I know what the three options are.
Okay.
So I think once those decisions are made, or once a decision is made out of those three options, then they'll have a, you know, the path moving forward will be designated.
Well, we ready to go, so.
They won't be waiting on us much
They won't
longer.
be waiting on us. If you're waiting on us, it won't be much longer.
So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Well, thank you. Thanks for
All
coming,
right.
and
Thanks,
I hope we
guys.
have a good turnout tomorrow, and that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, item 3B.
Zach Mitchell and Natalie Broussard to address the council on behalf of Community Emergency Response Team to discuss disaster preparedness.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Great to be with you tonight, and my name is Pastor Zach Mitchell, and I'm chairman of the Community Emergency Response Team here in Iberia Parish, and we really are in a mode of being proactive to get ourselves ready. It's not just for hurricane season, but we're readying ourselves for anything that can come down the pipe. We live in some really very unusual times. As you can see with COVID, then we end up with a freeze, and all these type things are coming down the pipe, so we're trying to ready our community for that. And I brought with me tonight some partners in disaster that will tell you more about it. Miss Natalie.
Good evening, Natalie Broussard. Most of you know me from serving on the Iberia Parish Council, but I also am a volunteer with CERT. That's, as Pastor Mitchell said, the Community Emergency Response Team. And CERT is the organization that opens the shelters in the case of a disaster, or does the emergency evacuation, or even distribution sites. Last time we actually opened a shelter that you'll be familiar with is in 2016 for the floods. We have staged shelters many times since then, have had actually, I think, maybe one or two people at a shelter that we've had with storms since then, but that's been the biggest operation that we had. Since 2016, we've been working really hard to be prepared. You know, when you go through a disaster, you learn where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are. So we've been working really hard to be prepared and to address those weaknesses. When we had this last hurricane season with COVID and all of the restrictions, it became painfully obvious that the way we've done sheltering and the way we've done disaster response in the past is just not the way that we'll be able to do it in the future. So we've been revamping, reorganizing, and making lots of new disaster plans that you'll get a lot more information on from that. But as a result of that, we know we need volunteers. We need people to work the shelters with us. We need people to work the evacuation sites, distribution sites. And as Pastor Mitchell said, we're not talking about just floods. We're not talking about just hurricanes. There's many different disasters that could happen. We could have a train derailment. We could have a chemical disaster where a tanker turns over, or we could have a plant fire, or just about anything can happen. And all of our municipalities have different risks that we need to assess and be prepared for. So what we're coming before the council tonight is asking each and every one of you to attend our CERT training. We're going to have it on April 10th, and bring people with you that can be willing to attend, to be trained, to be a CERT volunteer as well. We may not always need as many people as we have trained, depending on the type of shelter or disaster response, but it's better to have more people trained than we need than not enough people trained when we need it. So asking you all to consider the people in your district, those that can be leaders and help run a shelter, and those that are just the working bees that will just do the grunt work. We need each and every one of you. So if you can identify some people in your district, we're trying to get at least 10 to 12 people from each municipality to participate in the training. And we've gone to Jeanerette, Laurelville, Delcombe, New Iberia, and obviously the parish. So if y'all can help us to locate some volunteers that would agree to come to CERT training and be ready for assisting us in any kind of emergency response. Y'all have anything to add?
You have a time and location for the training?
It'll be at Willowwood from 9 to 3 is the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Hopefully, we can get on a agenda again before then and provide you with flyers and instructions and, what the training is gonna be detailed in. CERT is really great for you at home, because it really is based on taking care of people where you are, and so that's going to be critical for everyone. So we hope to come back and share with you again specifically about the training.
And that is the goal of CERT, is to assist you in taking care of our citizens. I mean, that's what we're trying to do in cases of disaster.
You guys want the council to attend that as well, or you just
We
want
would love for
community
the council
members?
to attend, because
Okay.
even if you can't actually be a CERT worker volunteering that day, just to have the knowledge and the training to be able to assist from your position is invaluable. So we
Okay.
would love for all of you to attend as well.
Okay, thank you.
All righty? Any other questions?
Thank you. We'll get it out on the city's website. I'll send all of y'all a notice, and when you have a flyer, please let me know. We can share it on Facebook and, do whatever we can to get some community support for our community. So thank you.
And if you get
Thank you.
anybody who's interested and willing to participate, just contact one of us and with their name and number, and we'll make sure we get all the information to them to participate.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all very much.
you.
Madam Clerk, item 4A.
Special ordinance number 2020, public hearing on special ordinance 2020-2021-05, amending the budget for quoted costs to replace City Hall air handler, budget amendment number 4.
I need a motion to open our public hearing.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem. Second, Councilwoman Ledbetter, I think. Good. Any public comment on this chiller replacement? Hearing seen none. I need a motion to close our public hearing.
Motion.
Councilwoman Deedy and Reed and Mr. Broussard. Thank y'all very much. Okay, now we move on to 4B.
Public hearing on ordinance number 2021-04, authorizing the mayor to execute a maintenance and operation service agreement for the Bayou Wastewater Treatment Plant.
I need a motion to open our public hearing.
Motion.
Mayor Pro Tem has the first, and the
Second.
second was Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. Is there any public comment on this service agreement? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to close.
Motion.
Councilwoman Reed, and I need a second.
Second.
I think it was Councilman Lewis this time. Thank you all very much. Now we move on to 4C.
Public hearing on ordinance number 2021-05, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of New Iberia and Bayrard Habits and Associates Incorporated for design and engineering services on the City of New Iberia Streets project.
I need a motion to open this public hearing.
So moved.
So moved by the Mayor
Second.
Pro Tem, and a second I'm gonna give this one to Councilman Swear, I guess. 'Cause he ain't got one yet.
Yes.
Is there any public comment on these engineering services? Hearing, seeing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Councilman Lewis and
Motion.
Councilwoman Reed, thank
Second.
you. Thank you very much. Now we move to 4D.
Public hearing on ordinance number 2021-06, authorizing the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement regarding security cameras between the city of New Iberia and Crime Fighters of Louisiana, LLC.
Motion to open public hearing. Councilman Lewis on the spot. I need a second.
Second.
Councilwoman Marcotte. Is there any public comment on our Crime Fighters contract?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Brian Gotro, resident and citizen of New Iberia. From what I have learned, Crime Fighters of Louisiana, LLC, has a proposition which appears to be a no-cost award to a fairly new private security company. I further understand that the city proposes to grant this concession to the company, allowing for the installation of cameras either to utility poles, street lights, or traffic poles. These cameras would serve as a surveillance system with a private company retaining ownership of all photos and video. And in my estimation, there are various issues, concerns, and questions which arise. For me, it seems that the city is handing over a great deal of surveillance power to a private company. I would wonder how you could write into such a contract where the privacy rights of law-abiding citizens would be honored, respected, and maintained. I also wonder and question, how is this company going to utilize the data they collect by the system for their purposes? Because after all, they are going to own all of the data collected. And should the data be mined, the data of private citizens be mined and collected and allowed to be commercially traded or sold? Is handling over this much power wise? What public oversight will there be? Can this result in unintentional, non-law enforcement uses? Additionally, within Crime Fighters of Louisiana is a subsidiary or another corporation, Top Notch Holdings LLC. What do we know about this company? And will they have part ownership and or control of the data collected, photos and films? I would just advise taking great care. Such agreements don't always work out. We need only to look at Lafayette and the Red Flex program. If you recall, this was a private company that provided a camera system for the enforcement of traffic light violation and speeding violations. It ended sooner than it could have. I would request that the council play an active role in the consideration, review, and approval if this contract is to be undertaken. I would further suggest that another consideration be made, because this agreement really takes on the appearance of a franchise agreement. If all issues can be addressed and all protections granted, why wouldn't the city entertain the concept of a franchise agreement, thus gaining revenue, as we do with our franchise agreements with Clico, Cox, and some of the other utilities? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment? Hearing and seeing none at this time. I need a motion to close our public hearing.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Swear. Thank you very much. Now we move to item 4E.
Public hearing on ordinance number 2021-07, approving change order number 3 on the Bayou Wastewater Treatment Plant for Equalization Basin Levee Repairs Project and authorizing the mayor to negotiate any and all contracts or documentation in connection therewith.
Okay.
I need a motion to open our public hearing.
Motion.
Councilwoman Reed, and a second, Councilwoman Ledbetter. Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to close.
Motion. Second.
Councilman Broussard, Councilman Lewis. Thank you all very much. Madam Clerk, item 5A.
Resolution 21-19, awarding Judy Rizzo with the alternate position on the New Iberia Board of Adjustments.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second? Second. Councilman Broussard.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Do I?
Yes, you're welcome. I was going to call you up. Thank you for volunteering. These positions are important, and we never can seem to find enough people who are willing to fill them. So we can't thank you enough for that.
Quite welcome.
Good.
All right. So I am an alternate.
You're an alternate.
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yes.
Good evening.
Great. Thank you. So we have a motion. We have an introduction. So all we need to do is vote on our resolution. Is there any comments? None? Please vote your machines. Now we have an alternate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5B.
Resolution 21-20, authorizing and directing the mayor and/or his staff to complete and execute the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire for and on behalf of the city of New Iberia.
Do I have a motion? Motion by, I think, Councilman Lewis, and second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any discussion on this item?
Is there any reason why we didn't answer number 14?
Any reason why we didn't answer number 14? Some of them didn't apply. We didn't answer item 14. I don't think it applied to us, but I'm not positive.
It was a yes or no, there's no not
Well, then you
not
got me.
applicable.
I hope we didn't skip it. I'm going to it now. Item 14.
It's under Part 5, accounting, auditing, and financial reporting laws.
I'm getting there. You see it?
What was the section one more time?
Yeah, what's that?
Part 5, accounting, auditing, and financial report.
14, okay.
Read. Final and financial statements in accordance. Kevin, any reason we didn't answer item 14?
You're hilarious.
We have filed our annual financial statements in accordance with, and it gives us our statute, where applicable. Think it was just an oversight?
May I see the form? 'Cause
You
I'm
sure
not
can.
remembering this.
Yeah. That's a good catch. I didn't see that. Yep.
So this is the audit.
Yeah.
I want to say that it's, I'm sorry.
Well, give us our paper back. Well, I don't want to go to jail because it's non-applicable. I can tell you that.
Let me look
or
at
if it's-
last
If it
year's.
is applicable.
I will look at, before the meeting's over with, I'll pull up last year's and we'll look at it.
Okay. All right.
And then, if we can, the document has been presented to the auditors, and that question was not brought up. But we can
I
always
just noticed
redo
it.
it. And, but let me check, that was which number again?
Number 14.
14. Jeff, I have a legal question. Can we go ahead and vote on that and approve it? I know it's been submitted to the auditor, but I want to make sure it's correct. Should I approve it? Should we pull it till the next?
I'll have the answer shortly.
Or he can come back before the meeting's over with an answer, would probably be the best thing. So you want to put it on pause and let Kevin give us an answer? It might be the right
Yeah,
thing
why
to
don't
do.
we postpone it?
Okay. Kevin, if you can give me an answer before the meeting's done, we can bring it back. If not, I'll move it to the next one, because I hate to just blanket vote on that.
No, I can get you an answer.
All right, well, thank you. Give me an answer. If it's okay, we'll put this on just hold for a minute. And
Need a motion to close?
do I need a motion to close this item, or I never put something on hold during the same meeting?
Let me look at
Yeah, I think I need a motion to postpone, but.
No, if the resolution is to authorize and direct the mayor and his staff to complete it and execute it, then I think you can have the council say, yes, go ahead and complete it and execute it.
Correct, but it's already executed.
And if one of the answers is not filled in, they can fill it in.
Correct.
So I think this
Okay.
authorizes the mayor and staff to file this document. Yeah,
Right, well, I'm not filing until 14 has an answer on it, I can tell you, because my name's on it.
right, but this doesn't
okay.
approve the document.
No, it leaves it for me to do
Yeah,
it.
this
Okay.
directs the mayor and staff to finish it. So if the homework's not finished, this says finish your homework.
Okay,
So
I'm
y'all
fine
can go
with
ahead and
that.
vote on this.
I'm fine with that. Dee Dee, good catch, and I'm gonna finish my homework. Then, is there any other discussion on this item? Then I would ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you very much. I'll take it if you have it. Since it's a public meeting, I'd like to know.
Consistent with prior year, it was not answered,
Okay,
and this was completed, compliance with prior year to that.
okay.
So if y'all want a legal explanation, I can get the auditors for that explanation tomorrow.
Okay, I want one, but at least I know that that's the same practice as last year, and I had no findings in my audit, and everything was clean. Makes me feel a little bit better, but,
And
yeah. Let's do our homework.
It references two statutes. And it says if applicable, so I can check the statutes and see if it's applicable. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Madam Clerk, 6A.
Introduction of ordinance number 2021-08, an ordinance adding Article 6 of Chapter 22 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of New Iberia, consisting of Sections 22-175 through 22-179, regulating yard sales.
Do I have a motion? Motion by
Second.
Councilwoman Marcotte and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on this item?
Yes,
Yes.
We do. Okay, great, well then, good. I like discussion.
So we currently do not require, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We currently do not require a permit for garage sales, right?
We currently don't. The big catalyst of this is the never-ending yard sales and garage sales that are occurring in our town that never stop. People who have become businesses, no way they're generating all that from their house, so they're either buying somewhere else or raiding something, and they are year-round garage sales. So one of the biggest catalysts is the amount of complaints, the amount of traffic, the amount of activity in various neighborhoods because people are having never-ending garage sales.
And how much is this permit supposed to be?
It's free.
I think it's a free permit.
Oh,
Free
okay.
permit. It's not, we're not trying to make money, we're just trying to protect our neighborhoods that are exposed to this never-ending
Okay, that's what
yard
I was
sale
wondering. I
and
was
stuff out in the
like-
yard. This way you could have up to 4 a year.
Okay.
You know, because it's not a business. If you're running a business, come get occupational license, then you better have the right zoning and the right everything else. But
Yeah.
this is to stop the complaints that we are receiving in many neighborhoods of people just doing this nonstop.
Okay, that was my
I mean, I love estate sales, I love garage sales, but just not never ending.
I just know that people have garage sales as fundraisers a lot of the time, so I thought that we were gonna charge them.
Well, you see, this
to do that.
doesn't affect nonprofits. We have it in there. If you're a church or a nonprofit, it's written in that you can still continue to do this. Like I said, this is just a little protection for our neighborhoods because we are having some complaints and some problems.
Okay. The free permit, you would just go to City Hall, apply for it.
And you can do 4 a year.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Oh, no, that's,
So,
Okay, who was next? I heard a voice.
I have a question too.
Oh, okay, Dee Dee, and then I'll.
That's fine, I'm good.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Do you
No,
have-
that's
you wanna
okay.
go first? Okay.
Go right ahead.
So, I guess my issue is with the one item of personal property. I mean, so that means if I'm putting two things that I want to sell at the road or on my, then I got to get a permit. And it feels like that might be a little excessive. I mean, that I got to go get a permit if I have, I don't know, if I'm selling a lawnmower and a weed eater. I got to get a permit.
Can I answer that?
Yes, you can.
We said no more than one item. If you would want to do something like that, you put your lawnmower out first, you sell that, and then later on, you put your weed eater out.
I
Unless you
get,
don't
no,
wanna-
I get what you're saying. I just feel like
This one?
the general public, they're gonna have an issue. I mentioned to you what happened with my neighbor. He was selling two lawnmowers. He put them both to the road. They were both gone that same day, but he would have needed a permit to do that. I just question the number. I think it's a great idea. We had to have permits where I live, to do a yard sale. I question the number of items, because I feel like just one personal item seems like it's very restrictive. That's just my opinion.
Well, that's why we put this on the agenda to have discussions.
Yeah.
That's good. Yes.
She brought up a good point. When it comes to yard sales, I mean, my area was a big area with Marie Street.
Yes.
I mean, constantly,
A never-ending yard.
never any issue. So I understand where we're coming from with getting the permit. I'm also understanding where she's coming from, someone with one lawnmower, or say, if someone decides to put a boat for sale in their front yard, is that considered something that you have to go get a permit for?
Not
to sell
one
'cause it's
item.
Because it's your personal property.
One item, you can sell one item. If you have two items, then you will need a permit, because it's basically a yard sale then.
So that's where I'm gonna be stuck on. I agree with the yard sale issue. I think that needs to be dealt with, and I appreciate you and the committee for doing that. But when it comes to someone selling a couple of things, I guess, in front of their home or business, that's where I'm kind of stuck on this. What do you think, Jeff? Can I ask Jeff his
You certainly can.
question on?
Well, a lot of this is stuff, I looked at other ordinances from other places and just kind of made up some stuff also to try to make something that's workable. I don't know where you want to draw the line. But, you know, if you got a guy with two items every day, you know, all year, you got some of those things going on. You know, so you got constant sales, people selling stuff in their front yards. I don't know where you want to draw the line, and that's really up to the council. You know, if you want to have one item, two items, three items, whatever, but understand that a lot of these things are a source of a lot of irritation for neighbors, a lot of phone calls, a lot of complaints. So we're responding to, you know, a public request for action here. The city's not making a dime on this. You know, we would rather not have to mess with this at all. This is one of those things that we really don't want to do. But in response to a public request for dealing with this, we tried to come up with a solution. If we have a different standard, like two items, three items, if the council wants to do that, it can certainly do that. You know,
When Jeff's finished.
So what's the penalty? So if someone does put out two items one time in a year and they don't acquire a permit, what's the penalty on them for doing
well, I
that?
guess it's the general penalty under the ordinances for violating an ordinance.
In other words, are they gonna get fined more money than what the actual item they're selling is worth?
No, they could be. Well, that's
You
why
know,
we're having a
that's
discussion.
where I'm
Yeah.
We
kind
realize
of,
we have a big, one big issue of these continuous yard sales.
Right,
And it has
correct.
happened in
And
many
I
areas of
understand
town,
that,
and we've gotten
100%.
complaints. But I mean, you know, that's why we do what we do. This is the fun part. That's why, as a group, we come up with, you know, poking holes where we need to and revamping what we need to revamp. But
Yeah.
for what's in front of you, it is very restrictive. If you know, you want the guy to be able to hook his boat on and sell his boat and his truck at the same time, well, then we got to at least put two items, you know.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, that's kind of why we have these discussions.
okay.
Anybody else want to weigh in? Yes, sir.
So, how do you guys envision enforcing this? That's my question. Who's gonna go out and check? Who's gonna be the compliance
Well, it's
officer?
gonna end up, it's gonna end up
Jimmy's
falling
running.
on,
Seriously.
no, well,
Seriously, look,
and that's
government,
why he ran out of the room. It's gonna end up falling on compliance. But what we're looking for are the big issues. What we're looking for, I don't see that, you know, I know the amount of compliance issues that Jimmy handles. I know the amount of pictures we look at together. You can go pick this up. Joe with Public Works, this is what you can go get. You can't go get this. We could get sued if we throw that away. You know, we on a daily basis, I don't think people see the behind the scenes part. You call things in, neighbors complain, you know, but like we're deciding, can you go get a boat trailer? No, you can't. It's a licensed thing. Hey, that lawnmower, if we take that, that guy's gonna say it ran and I'm gonna be buying him a new lawnmower. You know, we have to have some common sense with this. Do I think that every time two things are in a yard, that Jimmy is gonna, you know, I'm very realistic, that Jimmy is gonna have time to run over there and do that? Probably not, with the amount of inspections and the amount of big compliance issues he's handling. But this is the tool I want, that when we have the continuous yard sale on Marie Street or wherever else that we had so many complaints about, then he's going. Then he's going, and then he can fine him and he can shut him down, and I can get the court involved if I need to. I can get law enforcement involved if I have to, if it has to go that far. That's the point of this. The point is not to be petty government that, hey, you sold two things, what the hell you doing? You know, that's not what we're trying to do, but it deserves a discussion, and you have to start somewhere on paper to make an order. The wonderful thing about that ordinance committee is it's doing a lot of good and changing a lot of things and making us think about every little detail, and sometimes, you know, we could overreach. So that's the point of doing this, is to find that happy medium.
I mean, I could see where every time a neighbor sees somebody with two things out there, they're making a call. And so we're getting called about,
Yes,
you know, so we could be generating a whole lot more work for Jimmy.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So
I think the number two might need to be changed.
Just, well, and that's fine. That's why we having the discussion.
I think it needs to go up.
Needs to go up.
Yeah.
Well, it
Whatever
can't
that
go-
number is.
Not
Well, it can't go down. It can't go down.
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be a
It's
little.
kind of funny.
If the mayor said he wants to be realistic with it,
Well,
then
absolutely.
I think two's probably unrealistic, you know.
I agree.
I think where that number is, that's up to you, but I just think that.
Yeah,
needs to
no,
be
that's
somewhere.
fine. That's why we're doing this. Anybody else gonna chime in?
So these permits, can you apply for them online?
Yeah.
We probably could do that because this is such a small permit. This could
Yeah.
be something that we might be able to do online, which
Okay.
wouldn't be very difficult. Like I said, the killer is not the ones and twos. It's what you shaking your head for, Jimmy? They might have to apply to my office for the permit. That gets you off the hook. It doesn't get you off the hook on enforcing it, but it gets you off the hook of, it might be as simple as, you know, something online through our website. Yeah. Trying to make it easy on you. Which is unusual. Yes, sir.
I guess the only thing that caught my attention is the 24 hours before the beginning of the sale. That's the only time they can't advertise Monday saying we got a yard sale Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, Jimmy. I'm going to ask you a question. That's pertaining to Marlo's question?
Yeah, I think they need to apply a week in advance,
Okay.
because if they, that's gonna jam me on Fridays, because everybody's gonna want a garage sale on Saturday. That's gonna jam me at the office.
Okay.
If I got an issue, or even in your office, Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna have
so
some
once they apply, they should be able to advertise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's,
24 hours, I mean, you
okay.
give
No,
it.
that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't give you much time. That's fine. No, thank you for thinking of my office, Jimmy. So we would end up with a week
Yeah.
if we make these changes, you know, we'd end up with a week and you'd have to get your permit a week early. And we haven't decided on a number yet of what is the minimum.
Yeah.
It's kind of where we are.
Do y'all think people are gonna do this? Apply for permits?
Well, they might and they
don't.
might not, but if you're innocently doing one yard sale,
It's not a big deal.
that's not a big deal. I'm not looking to
No, I
be
agree with you.
the yard sale Nazi, you know, that's not what we're trying to do here. But if you continuously do it and you all become a problem in a neighborhood that people are having the traffic issues and that you're a constant yard sale, we have a tool to go get you.
I agree.
And have to have that, unfortunately. I mean, that's part of government. Part of our job is to assure quality of life. But I don't see that this is some major thing that, you know, Jimmy's new job is to ride around and police, you know, ones and twos. But you gotta have an ordinance. Well, the beauty of that ordinance committee is that it's tweaking ordinances and giving us tools in the toolbox for the times that people aren't considerate about their neighbors. I gotta have a way to get people's attention, to be considerate.
Okay,
And that's kind of what this is about.
gotcha.
I
Yes,
tell
sir.
you what, Freddie, I'm gonna just make a comment, because I'm self-employed. I got a business where people, they don't necessarily go and get a license to do what I do. Bootleggers been with us from the beginning of time, they're gonna be with us after this meeting. That's just the way it is. Bootleggers gonna bootleg, you know, and that's basically what it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
you know, so.
And good people will follow the rules.
Yeah.
And thank God for them.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. I got bootleggers in my business.
yeah.
So we should we entertain a number tonight or think about it?
We can discuss it, we can bring it back.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
5 is probably a realistic number.
5
5.
items.
Yeah. I don't know.
5.
Well, well,
That's what I'm asking. Nobody made a comment.
I'm putting my mask on.
Miss Ledbetter,
Look,
I'm
I
picturing
got
5,
my
that's
hand
what
up. I personally have a problem with 2, because a
Okay.
person can put 2 out every day and sell those 2. The same thing that, you know,
Well, I was thinking 5
and
chickens.
that'll become their business. Every day I just put 2 items out. Every day I put 2 items out.
Yeah, I mean,
Every day I put like you, 5 items out every day. That's a yard sale every day.
thought I'd put 5
So that's what
chickens
we
and
try-
sell 1
That
chicken,
is what
you
we're
know,
trying to
and
get
put it
rid of, that issue.
Not Miss Ledbetter, but you still only have 4 times to put your 2 items or your 5 items out, right?
exactly.
No, not the 2 items.
Oh, okay.
But actually, that's what this said. If you say more than one item, a person, I have to
That's what I was thinking, it was
I have to get an
four.
ordinance, and I can only do that 4
get a
times in a
permit 4
year.
times.
Yeah, but you saying make that 1, 2 then, or make it
No.
5.
Miss Didi, where's that in this?
If you make it 5, you got
It's on the
4
first
times to put
page.
5
Yeah, 'cause you
out.
still have
Okay.
only 4 times a year to do it.
In that
Where
paragraph?
it says yard
That's
sale,
what
when
it
it says the
says.
definitions,
Okay.
section 22-175.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm talking over y'all. I
No, that's
apologize.
okay, I've been looking for it, I didn't see it.
Look, I know I had COVID, I missed the meeting, but this is fun.
Oh, yeah. First sentence of yard sale.
More fun than COVID, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
we'll find out.
More than 1 item
That's where
of
it's at.
personal property conducted. Well, she
Make
transferred.
3, they're gonna have to come
That's why
back.
I've been looking for the word so long, but she transferred.
Make 5, they'll have to come back.
I mean, it's, your 5 was, I thought it was realistic in a sense, but then I pictured the 5.
Yeah.
You know, because this is really a mess. I mean, for something small like this, is kind of a mess. I mean, people gonna still sell their stuff. So to me, I know what it is. I mean, the elephant in the room is we're probably targeting 2 or 3 people. We're probably targeting 2 or 3 people. We're trying to shut down 2 or 3 people. That's what we're doing.
But the whole city's now gonna be affected by this
Affected.
rule.
So that's why I picked up on that. I like to listen and pick up. We're targeting, and everybody know that. We're targeting somebody that's actually running a yard sale business. And I get the ordinance, but I also think a limit on people that actually need to do this is kind of tough. You know, they got people that actually need to do this not as a business. Like, you got people that may want to help their neighbors. They're not a nonprofit, but since I'm known for this, and I know I'm getting into the weeds, but since I'm known for this, you bring it to my house, I'll sell it for you. You know, and now you're helping your neighbor. It's just, that's my take on it right now, just from listening. So, I mean, why we don't just go at those people that's doing it and have been identified to do this, and go at them and say, listen, you're
Because
running
I
a
need an
business.
ordinance to go after them.
Yeah.
I hear that.
And a yard sale is not really a business, so
Okay.
the reason that we're having this giant exercise is to give that tool in the toolbox. Look, if it'd be easy to just say this isn't right, so I'm going to stop it, man, we'd have a lot of lawsuits.
I'm not
You
saying
know,
I'm going
and I know
for-
you're not. So we just have to have
for or
something to hang our
against.
hat on.
And,
Okay, hang on. Marlo still has the floor, and then I'll move back around.
I just feel like yard sales been around forever and ever. And I know my grandmother and my aunts and all of them used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to yard sales. And I remember that, and that was a tradition. And they used to come back with nothing sometimes. Most of the time, so I just feel like we're tapping into a tradition and, I don't know, tapping into a tradition. that- Really? I mean, if they that bad, then you could send the police or whoever and say, look, y'all gotta stop selling all this stuff in front of y'all house. I mean, it just, I don't know, it just seems like, not, going over it and listening to everybody, it just seems like a lot to stop one or two people from selling a lot of stuff all year long. God bless the truth, like my grandma said.
You good?
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. What, somebody had their hand up.
You can go with Dustin
Okay,
first.
Dustin, thank you.
Something.
Okay, I'm all for enforcing the yard sales, cracking down on them. I just have a problem with punishing the Good Samaritan because of something these few people are doing. I say few, a lot of people in town are doing yard sales, I get it, making a mess and all these things. But to punish the Good Samaritan that just goes and puts something out of the road, giving him a limit on what he can put out, how many times a year, that's what it's throwing me off. And that's where, I don't know what's the other step we can take as a council to maybe tweak it a little bit. I really don't know. I mean, I'd like to hear maybe your opinion on.
And never forget, we don't have to take any action tonight. This is an introduction.
It's introduction.
We got time to flesh this out, but this is how we do it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Councilwoman Bayrard, I'll call on you now.
Oh.
You know, the process would be to put it in writing, the issues that you have, bring it to the committee, and we would talk about it and everything, and do this during the ordinance committee meeting instead of what we're doing right now. So hopefully next time that'll happen. And actually, Councilwoman Reed did send it in writing to me and all, and I did contact her and we talked about it. But I didn't hear from anybody else.
And we did originally say, as much as we could, we would follow, that people would get back after we emailed. We did. On the flip side, you gotta expect that some of the group dynamics, and as people say something, it spurs somebody else to think of something new.
Yeah.
So it's never gonna be so cut and dry that we won't have these 15-minute discussions on stuff, because somebody's gonna make one remark or think of one thing and it's gonna trigger 3 or 4 other things. So, I'm trying to meet in the middle because everybody's input is important, and the public sometimes needs to, this is how government works. Sometimes I like this. This is government work. This is what people need to see. From a little bitty issue to, a large one. People need to see we're talking about it, And the great thing is we're not fighting. We're not killing each other. We're having, good discussions. That's something to be proud of.
And we're all getting over yard sales.
Yeah, we're all getting over yard sales.
So we're doing good.
Thank you. We're doing good. Mr. Broussard.
And all this we're talking about on that camera,
Well, yeah.
so that the people come, if they're against it for some reason, they're gonna be here next meeting.
That's a good point.
So expand it a little bit to, let them come
Well,
voice
that's
their
why
opinion.
every
If we
ordinance
have a
takes
lot
two.
of
That's why
opinion-
every ordinance takes 2 meetings.
If
That's
we don't
why.
have
yeah.
a lot of a bad opinion, we just vote on like we think about it. But I think we have a few people next meeting at this podium, against it or for it. So let's see what happens on that point.
Okay. Our city attorney's weighing in.
Well, I just think the first question is, do you want to regulate yard sales at all? The idea was we wanted to do that. If you're going to regulate the yard sales, then you need to make some rules so people are going to know what's okay and what's not okay. So if you say 5 items, is that 5 trucks in somebody's front yard every day? Or keep in mind, we're talking about, this is not something where you run an ad in the paper and or Craigslist or something like that, and you deal with a sale that's not in somebody's yard. This is stuff put out for sale on display, in the front yard. So y'all think about how you want to do this, but you can see the practical problems that we run into with this committee. Everybody has an idea that they think is good, but then when you get down to the defining what it is they can't do, that's where it gets sticky. So let's think about whether or not we want to do this, and if so, what things are we not going to want to allow?
And like I said, we don't have to we're not adopting it tonight. It's an introduction. Anybody else? Okay, now do we vote to move it forward?
Well, I guess I guess you could vote to introduce it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could tinker with it later.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, it won't be adopted, but I don't want anybody to panic and think, you know, we.
But if you don't introduce it tonight, then you're gonna have to start that
Then I
process.
start the whole process over, and that's our choice. In other words, we could bring it back and go through emails and go through the committee again and tweak it further before we introduce it, or we can introduce it tonight and then tweak it. Yes, sir.
Could, I'm just asking, could we possibly bring these questions to the ordinance committee before we vote on it, if we introduced it?
Yeah, we're not finished with it, we can
I mean,
still.
Deidre knows the concerns we got, so if we introduce it, and then she gets some feedback from our ordinance committee and bring it back before we vote on it.
And that will meet again in a few weeks, right?
Yeah. that's what I'm thinking.
We have a meeting next week. I
Next
think,
week.
Actually. Justin?
So this is gonna, so if we're gonna introduce it, and it's gonna come right back to us in the same language? Or
We know
you
we're all
try-
gonna send our comments in through email, which is basically a synopsis of what we did
That's-
tonight.
okay.
And then we're gonna tweak it at the ordinance committee meeting and then bring it back. And see if it flies.
You often have changes after the public hearing, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's,
Okay.
I might have another question, sorry.
Well, no,
At
great.
what point can you call the stuff that's in the yard for an extended period of time junk? Like, when do we get to call Mr. Jimmy and say, hey, is that junk in their yard? Because I've had in my neighborhood people with the stuff throughout their yard. It wasn't a yard sale, and so he was able to go over there and
Well,
talk to them.
when it's there and it's become a nuisance and you get complaints about it, you call it in. Once you call it in, Jimmy goes out and photographs it. There are occasions that it is not junk. There are occasions that half is junk and half is not. That's why Jimmy and I review every one, and Joe, every one of the photographs, and then I physically identify what to go pick up. Because I don't want it to be on them, and I just figure I gotta take the heat. So I sit there and say, this is trash, this is trash, this is good, this looks good to me. And then Joe only goes pick up those items. But it's a process. But if you have a complaint, it's a complaint driven. Now, Jimmy rides around and sees something, as well as us, if we do. But if there's something that's been there for, 2-3 months and hasn't moved and the collection is growing and neighbors are complaining, turn that in.
So a week-long garage sale wouldn't be considered junk? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I don't think it's junk. You can't do that because, like I said, you gotta be specific. If I got things in my yard right now in the codes we have and they have price tags on them, all right, it's not junk. They're gonna say it's a yard sale. We don't have anything to prevent that.
Okay.
That's what had happened to us, was that we had people that no one was buying it, so it must not have been that great. I think we live in a free economy of supply and demand, and there was no demand, I can tell you. That stuff was just sitting there, but it had price tags on it.
Gotcha.
So, anyway, that's kind of why we back at this. Yes, sir.
Mayor, to Brooks' point, so before the 2-day, ordinance, the complaint was that people were having junk all out, I say junk, let me take that back. Stuff to sell at a garage sale, they were having it out in their yard all week?
Every day.
Every
Okay,
day.
see, I
Always.
would
Every day.
definitely, cause garage, the ones my people went to was on the weekend.
Yeah,
So
well, it was a one-day event,
Yeah.
not an everyday event.
Yeah, so I definitely see that.
Yeah, and
That's what we trying
So,
to
that's
stop.
but I'm
the
saying
biggest
if
thing
that's
without
the
a
only
doubt.
problem, then I think we went, personally, I think we went a little too far if that's the only problem. If that's the only problem, I think, because rummage sales are known, garage sales are known to be on the weekend. I mean, I promise you, my people went to a garage sale every weekend. 52 weeks. I mean, and I'm just saying, that's all,
And
to me, we need to.
Another comment
Yes, ma'am.
would be, like, our attorney said, we did look over a lot of different ordinances from a lot of different places. Some were very, very, very long and detailed as to what you couldn't do, when you could do it, and very detailed. And this was a kind of pared down version of a lot of things that were considered. And this is what we have right now. Because we didn't have anything, there was no place to start. So we started with, looking over some others in some surrounding areas and in different states and all. So this is what we have, and hopefully, because we had nothing, so that all year stuff that's out there with prices on it could be there. And it's nothing that we could do about it, nothing the city could do about it, because we don't have anything in place to prevent that. So that's why we need something to prevent that.
I think that just having on the weekend will take care of a lot of the problems that, where those complaints come from. That's, because rummage sales are, they're a weekend thing. They're a weekend thing.
Might have a point, just use weekends instead of days.
But then it'll be setting up during the
One
week.
at a time, one at a time. I gotta try to keep on. I can't keep up in the
No, I was listening to him.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think he was
Yeah, I know
saying
Mr.
something
Broussard
good.
was talking to you.
Yeah, I was done.
Who's next?
Thank
Are we
you.
done? All right.
I was just saying, just think, they might say they're gonna set up during the week,
Well,
or
that's
the
when,
weekend, you know?
that's when your ordinance
Yeah,
kicks
that's what I'm
in.
saying. It's a good idea.
No excuses. You can't set up during the week. You only can have your rummage sale on the weekend.
Good point.
I mean, that's,
That's another issue.
I just threw it out there because I might forget to email you. That's why.
Mr. Broussard, you had a comment?
I'm with this.
Okay, you with them.
Weekend will be good.
All right. Jeff?
You still need to figure out what's a yard sale and what's not a yard sale. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. I mean, we're not gonna
Yeah.
solve this tonight.
Right.
No, we're
You
not.
can see the issues.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a real issue, and we just gotta weed through it.
Yeah.
Okay, so makes me wanna have a yard sale. Anyway, now we need to decide,
You can have one too, man. You can have one.
do we pass this forward? Do we vote on this tonight? Do we put it aside, or do we vote knowing that we're gonna amend it? So I had a motion and a second. And like I said, I don't wanna tell anybody what to do, so
Quick
I'm
question.
asking the question. Yes, sir.
Do we have to move it to next meeting, or we can put it off to maybe a couple meetings, so give us some time to decide?
We could vote on it,
In
and
other
it
words?
wouldn't have to come, it could be the meeting after.
Just so we can decide.
I know we've had a few things that we kicked to 2 meetings.
Yeah, you don't have to take it up the next meeting.
Right.
I would like to give us a couple meetings just to decipher some information, if that's okay, Mayor.
I think it's a good idea.
And you could vote to introduce it and never hear about it again.
Huh.
So that would put us on April 6th.
Okay.
Bumped it to.
Okay. So, do I need another motion to do that? Or we just vote?
We just vote.
Okay, then I'm gonna bump it to April.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna abandon the whole thing, then you don't introduce it. But if you're gonna pursue it and try to fix it,
Okay.
then you introduce it.
Great.
So, a yes vote would do one.
A yes vote moves it forward, that
to
we know we're gonna
introduce.
make some changes.
Okay.
And it will move it forward to the April meeting.
Okay.
And a no vote would be.
A no vote would kill it. You'd have to have.
Don't change it.
Just
Don't
drop
mess
it,
with
just don't mess with it.
Okay.
Everybody clear?
Yes.
Good, well then I would ask you, please vote your machines. Thank you all very much. Good discussion. Madam Clerk, 6B.
Introduction of ordinance number 2021-09, an ordinance amending section 27 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of New Iberia to add a requirement for dumpsters to add commercial storage unit businesses.
At commercial storage
Yeah.
unit businesses, yes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by the
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilwoman Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion on this item?
So we're only
ma'am.
voting on the language that was changed or added at the bottom. The other part of the ordinance stays the same.
Yes,
So
this
we-
is just
We can't
to-
make any changes there.
Right, all we're trying to do right now is to say the commercial storage units, because we have a big problem with units getting cleaned out and piles of rubble, that they need to, it's their business, they need to have a dumpster.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this saying that all businesses that's considered businesses should have a dumpster? Is that saying this?
This is, what we're talking about tonight is that all commercial storage unit businesses.
Okay.
That's what we're
Specific to
trying
that.
to affect, is to make them have, because, like I said, people leave things behind, they get cleaned out, people clean their own things out and grace us with a lot of stuff left.
Because they got some apartment complexes that need some dumpsters.
I don't disagree with that, but for tonight, what we're talking about is, yeah,
I just
yeah.
took a chance.
I got you. That could be another issue.
Yep.
That's why I was asking, could we change the language in the other part of it? Because I wanted to include the apartment complex.
Right. Why don't we take them one at a time? Because, okay, if it's a fourplex, they can actually have garbage cans from our provider, if it's a fourplex or less. So it would, I think we better take each little change in each type of business, you know, on its own, I think. Yes, ma'am.
The larger apartment complexes know that they have to have a dumpster.
Correct.
So I know Councilwoman Reed called me and asked me because some of them are getting overfilled. So my personal
Oh, yeah, we have one in
opinion-
Charles Street that they probably need 3 dumpsters every week. That one's terrible.
That's the one.
So, I mean.
I figured that.
That technically couldn't be handled in this.
No, I think it should be something
particular-
separate anyway.
in-
I do
in-
too.
In this ordinance.
I agree. Agreed.
Yeah.
But Charles Street, that's got to go.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And West End Estates, they need one
okay, good.
or 2.
All right. Any more discussion on the commercial unit? Having them. Nobody else? Well, then I would ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Now, Madam Clerk, 7A.
Adoption of ordinance. Special ordinance number 2020-2021-05, amending the budget for quoted costs to replace City Hall air handler. Budget amendment number 4.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Motion by Councilman
Second.
Swear and a second by Councilwoman Ledbetter, I think?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, please vote your machines. Great, Jimmy, we're getting a new air handler. Well, yes, he's stuck with maintaining that. Let me tell you, this is, he fights with that. 7B.
Adoption of ordinance number 2021-04, authorizing the mayor to execute a maintenance and operation service agreement for the Bayou Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by, I think, Councilwoman Reed, and who was the second on this end? Councilman Broussard, thank you. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing, seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. Item 7C.
Adoption of ordinance number 2021-05, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of New Iberia and Bayrard Habits and Associates Incorporated for design and engineering services on the City of New Iberia Streets project.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
So moved by the Mayor Pro Tem and a second by Councilman Swear. Do we have any discussion on this item?
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I to prelim my conversation with the MPO, and it was specific what I was targeting when I mentioned the Lewis Street intersection. And that intersection is not gonna be completed 2023. So as I go around the city and see things that affect commerce and affect people in this city that to improve, I saw a road that really needs to be repaired due to commerce. So I'd like the mayor, for discussion purposes, I'd like to use some of my $100,000, maybe $15,000 of it, to resurface from Amador to the city line on Lewis Street, where a big part of our commerce is. I think that road can't handle traffic till 2023 till we get some MPO money. So I think it's a great investment that people and everybody in the city uses that particular road. So I'd like him to consider using that money to get a price to resurface that small section of road if possible.
Sure. And I mean, we have kind of privately been talking that it's time for us to start executing or thinking about and beginning to have discussions on projects that we want to do with the $100,000 that each district controls. This is a good one that's in your position, because you don't have a district, to do these projects that are kind of beneficial to the whole city. I think that's a great idea. I think once we have this contract in place, that's something that our consultant can look at. It's not a, we know that we have charged or will charge them with finding the worst roads in each district, and we're gonna have discussions about that, but we already have, of finding the worst roads. We also know that each of you represent a lot of people, and each of you have a district that you live in and represent every day. So those lists are gonna come back to you. There's no politics in it. Here's the worst roads, here's what they are, this is what we should do. but each of you will have discussions and comments about that because you represent those areas. But I think the fairest thing to do is to find the worst roads, and we talk about them all the time. I hate to name a couple of them, but LaSalle Street is terrible. Fulton Street by the cemetery is almost gravel. They are many, and so for them, their first charge will be to identify those worst roads. I don't see a problem, especially if we have some money to pay for it, that while we're doing this, I think it's a good idea that we can add in and say, please look at this little section.
So, just one thought,
Yes.
Mayor, is that in some ways this opens up a can of worms because each one of us has $100,000, and so there are going to be people who are going to say, well, take some of that money and go fix my road. Like LaSalle.
Right,
I mean, you know what I
right.
mean?
Well,
It's like,
I
can't you
think-
fix that? Why you have to wait until we put the
Right.
road program in place? Just want us to be aware that that could happen.
Yes, I do see that, but I think that was the reason we, for the most part, and like I said, the Mayor Pro Tem is unique that he doesn't have a district.
Right.
So, when we did the master study per district, we identified projects in each district and really tried to stress that because I want to see money going out to the whole community.
Right.
So he has kind of, he also has all the I was the Mayor Pro Tem. You also have all the problems of the whole city. So he has a unique perspective of representing everybody. So I think that you can simply say for your district, these are the projects, and all that's going to come back for us to vote on. No one's a lone ranger, and no one should feel that this money is a burden that they're hung out to dry of what do I do with this money and who's going to be mad at me because I didn't do this or that. I think that the way we work collectively, we just say that for the most part, that money will go to projects.
Okay, it's just, I mean, it's
It's a good thought.
It is a good thought, though. I mean, I can understand.
Infrastructure is such a big thing here. I mean, people talk about it all the time, and so they're gonna want to see some of that money go toward that because we're doing this. It's just a
Right,
thought.
right. Okay. Yes, sir.
Didi, and you bring up a good point, but my vision of this is that, when you're going out to rebond money for the city, for the purpose of roads, people want to be encouraged that it's going to be spent in the right way. So if you have a road that you've done and people can see, feel, and touch that the city's making progress, it makes a better perception of what this council is working through. We all in this for a common good. And so that particular road, everybody in the parish mostly rides on it. And it's just for commerce. I mean, Mr. DeCourt and our mayor just previously said, what are the 6 biggest tax generators in the city? All located around that piece of road.
No, I agree with you.
No.
I think it's a
So,
good idea.
so I think the
We
answer
just-
to your question
It was
is,
just kind of a caution.
Yeah,
Right.
In a way.
Yeah.
and to answer your question, if one of your constituents said, well, you did this, and I said, listen, our biggest tax engine is there. We need to protect our biggest tax engine and our future tax engine. Because we paved that road, somebody else, another Chick-fil-A or whatever, might come locate.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying, so that's my
Texas
intention.
Texas Road.
Whatever, but that's my intention.
Okay, no, I get it.
That's a good idea, but I'm gonna ask you for $15,000 for my district too.
Bring the project. Bring the project.
There's a can of worms.
Yeah, bring the
That's
project.
the real can of worms.
Yeah.
No, that's a good, I think
It
it's a
is,
good idea.
it is.
I get a lot of calls, and that's not my district. I get a lot of calls from that intersection, because they think we run the whole city
That's right.
per council person. I just never brought them up, because that's Mr. D, his
And
district.
one more stop, but the thing about it is that, and that's why I insinuate this conversation, because by 2023, when MPO does that intersection, there ain't gonna be nothing left of that road.
Right.
And our biggest engine's right there, so that's what I'm protecting, our economic engine.
Thank you.
That's good,
Everywhere
that's
I
good.
go,
Mr.
that
Russo.
4 out of 5 bring up that road, that little section right there. 4 out of 5. It comes, I know what you're gonna talk about.
Good. That went back
thank
on
you.
our contract?
Yeah.
Just to try. No, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good stuff. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
The only
Councilman
question I have, so, the fee for the basic engineering fee, which is at 5.7, which is reduced compared to what the range is already. The other 2 fees in there, the 6% for resident project and the other 3 for geotechnical. So all that's lumped together, so we'll be spending over 12%.
In the end, yes, we will, but it's over the duration of the whole project. What we're trying to do right now, we know, I'm very confident that we can float a bond. I talked about a $10 million bond, which I thought was funny last week. The engineers talked about an $8 million bond, and they are based on a percentage basis. So normally you would see, thank you for that, normally you'd see it's the other way around, that I'd be talking 8 and they'd be talking 10 because they're paid by a percentage basis. So that was interesting. But, somewhere between the 8 and the 10 is what we're going to be allowed to bond as long as we stay right like we are. The money we have now begins to pay our engineers, but you don't go to the next level and pay for the other items and the other services until those happen. In other words, once the bond is floated and we move to the construction phase and we move to the documents and they're doing more geotech, the very beginning work is what we're trying to get started so that when we do float a bond at the end of the year, we can hit the ground running and we're not waiting. And it's not like we're being overzealous. Our community has waited for how many years since we had a road program? It has been quite a few since we were out there doing any kind of real road maintenance. So because of that, I don't want to waste time that we're just sitting around saying, yeah, sooner or later. I think that this is important to begin to move. But that's,
And that's why I asked the question, where's the percentage when we start?
Right.
And what's the ending?
Right. And we also
Ending
are
number's
going to
gonna be-
take some advantage of the geotech information that this firm has done for us prior because, yes, our roads are more deteriorated. We have had years that we haven't done anything with them. Provided the base is not compromised, our geotech is the same. So in some instances, we will benefit from their knowledge and the geotech that they have done.
Right, so in the end, it's gonna be roughly about almost 1.2 million in services.
Yes.
Professional
Yes.
services.
Wouldn't you say, Matt? Come on up.
So the RPR services and the geotech is gonna be on a T&M basis. We're estimating 6% and 3% based on the numerous projects we've done in the past. Now, there was a discussion last meeting about marking up subs. One thing we could encourage you guys to do is hire the geotechnical direct, and you don't have a markup through BHA for that. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
that's a way of
So
saving
that's a
money as
way
well.
that we had a discussion about some of those items today.
Right.
That would really make up some money. That's
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Excellent.
We'll have to coordinate to make sure that we hire.
sure, yeah, we would
Yeah.
coordinate the call outs and the
Correct,
services, when we need them and whatnot, and even review their invoices, but, I mean,
Okay.
so we don't finance that portion of it, it'd be best for you guys to
Good.
just pay it direct.
Excellent.
Good. Well, that saves some markup. I like that. I mean, as
Another item that came up was the mileage rate. The $1 a mile is very typical for what we normally do in the plants and things of that nature. We were willing to go with the federal rate of, I think it's 56 cents for this
Yeah.
project.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
60 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
All right. Thank
Good.
you.
We'll
All right,
take
we appreciate
that
that.
too. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? I mean, this is exciting. This is beginning to do something the city has needed to do for a long time, and the beginning of it's not the end, believe me. We know that we need about $35 million to do all of our roads, and we're starting with 8 or 10, but it's a start, and it's due to the hard work of this council that are financially, we will be able to do it, same as, the council before us, that we'll have finally gotten back into this position. And in a time of COVID and a down economy, I'm amazed that we are here, but boy, it's time. I mean, we ride the same streets and we got some bad ones.
Just brief.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just super excited that a local contractor is willing to come to the plate and work with us as the city government to try to, stretch out tax dollars. That's just super exciting on you guys. I really appreciate that.
Well, any money that gets spent in towns gets turned over 7 times, and so in a way we are, being an economic engine. Same thing with all the grants we're doing, same things with all the projects. You don't realize what an economic engine city government can be as these dollars are coming through, so it does help. Yes, sir, Mr. Broussard.
I think I'll talk to you next year, Iberia Street, the state has committed to come do
Yeah,
Iberia Street.
right. They'll be talking about that tomorrow night at Slime, and it's one of the MPO projects. And we get the bike lane.
That'll be great for the District 3.
Yes. They can come do some more if they'd like to.
I'll be there tomorrow night.
Good. Remind them of that. Anybody else? Hearing nothing, I would ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, 7D.
Adoption of ordinance number 2021-06, Authorizing the mayor to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement regarding security cameras between the City of New Iberia and Crime Fighters of Louisiana, LLC.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Swear. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem? Discussion. Anybody have any discussion? Any question, comments?
So I know
Yes,
we
ma'am.
had a conversation about this, and I think Mr. Goto, you know, he probably echoed my concerns from the last meeting. I guess I'm still not real comfortable not knowing where our data's gonna be or what's gonna happen to it.
Mhm.
It just feels like, I don't know, I'm not used to just letting people just hold on to data, and the fact that they own it, I don't know what they plan on doing with it. It feels like we're leaving something open.
Okay.
It's just, I know I feel better after we talk, but I mean, it's just that IT person in me that's just wondering where's my data going. So.
I'll respond to my thoughts on it, and you know, I mean, that doesn't mean I don't, I'm only one guy. When you talk to, there's nobody else coming for free to put cameras in our community. We get 65 cameras. Clico has installed 20 poles that we now own because they didn't want it on their poles. So Clico stepped up and donated 20 poles, and they're only on those poles. They're not going on any other light fixture or any other thing. They're going to the 20 poles that the city owns. That's number one. Number two, they're coming for free. You know, I mean, we had a town hall last night. We know the shootings. We know the crime. I am looking for anything to stop young people from dying in our community. And this was a tool of law enforcement. This company's been around for 5 or 6 years. They've been doing this at least. They're in other communities. They're not having any complaints in the other communities they're working in. The law enforcement portion tool of this is invaluable. This company's tied into every state computer. The state police use them. They're tied in all over. When they do an LPR and a car goes by and they can identify the license plate, that's coming directly from the state. So the data that they have is statewide already, and it's all crime related. They're not looking, I mean, in other words, and I'm not trying to be flippant in any way, what data are they getting? We're going to know every blue Chevy Impala that rides through town? In other words, they're on the street, they're crime related, they're looking for crime incidents. So the police have no access except to call and say, we've had a shooting and we need to identify on the, whatever, Ann and wherever we need, or whatever street you want to pick in town, Persian Street, anyway, we need to identify, an incident happened. Here's the time that we think it happened. They look it up, they find the clip, they find the shooting, they find people on the camera, they find the cars that are involved, and that's what they send us. So that's what law enforcement receives. I do know that the cameras are running. I mean, I do know that they're running, but I don't see.
Well, here's the thing. So I absolutely understand what you're saying, Mayor. I think you're definitely making a good point. But cameras also collect metadata. Well, we don't even know what metadata they're collecting and what they could potentially do with that information. So it's just the fact that they want to own the data, and that when you put a termination clause in there, so that's a great thing. So we decide to terminate.
30 days,
right.
And this is not working. And my biggest fear, you and I talked about this. I have no, except thank you, and I'm glad, I'm not being flippant about it, for someone to make investments of millions of dollars and put cameras all over Acadiana. Okay, he says it's going into a trust, it's not going to be sold, okay? But I don't know that.
Right.
So the out clause is, let's just say, because I have to be responsible for the finances of this town. Let's just say that all of a sudden, 2 years from now, this company gets bought out. I want that 30-day out because I don't want someone to say, hey, those cameras that you've been dependent on, that you have, and there's 65 of them in your town, you now owe me $10,000 a month. I'm going to hit the 30-day button and say, guess what, come get your stuff. Because I know I can't afford that.
Exactly.
But how many lives I save in those 2 years, and how many shootings, and how much do I get my town under control with a new tool besides our police department? I don't know that offer's not coming from anybody else.
No, and I agree with you.
You know?
I think it's a good thing, and I think it's going to help with the crime prevention.
I hope so.
My only thing is, you hit that 30-day button, and then they keep the data. So it's like data's being sold, and we don't know what people are going to use it because people are very creative. I just want us to be to know what we're getting ourselves into, because they could potentially take the data and turn it into some sort of profit center if they're acquired by somebody. We don't know, because we don't know what you could possibly do with the data. We're not being as creative. That's my only concern. I love the idea of having the camera, so please don't hear me saying I don't want that. I like that. I just want us to know that there's that little one piece that maybe it's not perfect.
But what happens with every security camera everywhere in our community, both private and public, and when you go to Walmart and when you go everywhere else, I'm not picking on Walmart today, but let's just say that, you know, all those cameras, we have become the Big Brother society. So I don't know what the data happens with all, I'm not being ugly, it's a good question. I don't know. Your cell phone. You can look at one thing on your cell phone and you get 20 ads for it for the next 6 months. In other words, we are, you know, it's happening to us every day already. You know, go look at a new pair of boots. Man, I could buy 1,000 pair of boots now. You know, so.
But I have the ability to turn that off. Because I can turn off location services, I can turn off those things.
Right. You can't turn. I can in 30 days though. I can turn that portion off.
Exactly.
But I don't know what Walmart's doing when I go to the store with the data they collect from their cameras. I don't know what, you know.
Hey,
It's
I
just
agree.
it's a weird world.
We're the ones entering this contract.
I understand that.
So that's all the reason I'm
I'm
saying.
trying to get to a point, and if we don't get there, you vote no. I'm trying to say the value of the crime prevention is worth taking that risk. Because I don't have another way to do it. My police department, 75 strong, is doing everything it can. And our budget of, you know, we spend $7 million a year for our police department. You know, when you look at what we're spending, I'm looking for any avenue I can. And when a guy shows up and says, I can help, as long as I got that 30-day out button, that I trust him, great, come and help. If it doesn't work, or costs go out of control, or we would find out that other things were happening we didn't anticipate, I'm gonna hit that 30-day button.
Okay.
So, I know probably everybody wants to speak on it. Who had their hand up next? I don't want to. Okay, Marlon. I've just kind of come around this way.
What is metadata?
Metadata is the information that they can collect about the location or wherever you are. It's like information they tag when they take the picture. So they know everything. It's just other information they add to whatever the file is. Like if you go into a Word file, you can go and look at the metadata, which says when you created it, where you were, who created it, all of that's metadata.
What's the danger of that for trying to weed out the criminal element?
Metadata can identify you. So let's say you just happen to pass.
Okay.
It can identify you. And maybe you don't want to be identified, you're not a criminal. So you don't know what they're going to do with your information. That's all I'm saying.
And no, I definitely don't, because I'm grateful for your IT skills and background, but the question is, it goes back to when we go to Walmart and everywhere else, I'm still being identified. We can't get away from being identified in today's society.
I agree with you. What I'm
So
saying
that's
is,
why
what I'm saying is that we're entering that contract. We don't know what Walmart has done. You're right. But if something happened with Walmart, you show up somewhere and it looks like Walmart made it look like you were a criminal, you could probably go and sue Walmart. But the fact is that the city is entering into this contract. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up, because I want us, because we're representing our citizens, to make sure we're comfortable with the fact that we don't own our own data. This is our data, but we don't own it.
Let me ask this question. The data, it will be distributed to the police station on...
Only to the police of what we're fooling with. We own, no one else in the city has access to it. Only the police department upon request per incident.
Okay, per incident, correct.
For us.
After termination. Let's say Freddie has to pull the plug. He terminates it. 30 days later, we're out. We don't know what happens to our data because they own it. We can't say, oh, give me a download of all my information.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And I get it. I'm still just like...
And it may be fine. I just want to point out the fact that that's that little hole in the contract that we have to be comfortable with. We can still go ahead and move forward. I just want us to be comfortable that we know what we're doing.
Ron, anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Broussard, we're going to work around.
Crime anywhere you go, first thing they do, on TV, Lafayette, Iberia. Where's the cameras on all these businesses? That's their main element of finding who in the heck did what. So if these cameras can catch more, just like they're doing on buildings, businesses, all have cameras, if they can catch them, catch them. I'm not doing anything illegal. If they got me during the day passing by that camera and doing everything honest, that's fine. But anywhere I'm at, I'm glad they're watching me. Because I have nothing in my mind to do anything wrong.
Yes, sir.
So the wrong people will be caught on these cameras. And I'm thankful they will be caught. So I'm backing you 100%, Mr. Mayor. You know, that's the wrongdoers.
Vivian, just a brief comment, Marlon. I heard loud, and I want to be loud and clear last night, which you guys constituents wanted. I heard it really loud, and I want to emphasize that. So there's a tipping scale here, right? Tipping scale is, we concerned about the data or we want to solve crime. So I think you got to weigh your options out, right?
Right.
And I Googled the company and looked at it, and I haven't seen, and you can do it myself, I haven't seen any complaints of other in the community about compromised data. So I feel comfortable.
Right.
Is there an option of, maybe truly down, or there may be an option, but I haven't seen another community that the data was compromised. So if I put it back on the scale and I look at all communities that are using it and the data hasn't been compromised, and I know where I want to get in solving crime, this makes my decision easy.
That's where I'm at.
And that's where I'm at.
It's
And I
not-
respect
yeah.
you for your comments, I really do, but that's my thoughts.
No,
Sure.
and keep in mind, I'm not talking about during the time when we're in contract with them, okay?
Right.
There's not an issue there. It's after the contract ends, if it ends. That's what I'm saying, now we don't know what happens to our data, because we don't have a requirement for them to delete it or download it and give it back to us. That's all I'm saying. It's not during the
And
contract.
some of that, because I did ask those questions, some of that is there is no statute of limitations on a murder. So if something comes up 5 years from, let's just say in 2 years, we have to hit the out button for whatever reason, cost, we don't think it's working, we don't think it's needed, well, that would be a wonderful thing. I can't think that's gonna happen, but let's be hopeful. So let's just say in 2-3 years, we're done. If there's a murder that's 5 and 6 years old and some other form of, brings it back up, a witness comes forward, some DNA evidence, something comes up, that's one of the reasons they retain that, because they would go back and find that again, someone would, through a court order, and they would find that again and maybe be able to prove something. So part of it is because it is law enforcement. Our downstairs is already so full of evidence, I don't know what I'm gonna do in a couple of years. I mean, we have to retain that for such a long time. We're filling up down there. I mean, I've got, major issues with some of that as far as for depositions and all that goes to the cloud. The amount of my cloud storage is amazing already, and we're only 2 years old. So a lot of the law enforcement aspects of it, it has to stay around.
Well, and I may have not noticed this in the agreement, but do we have in the agreement where it says that they will hold on to the information indefinitely? Because again, they own it. They could delete it the next day.
They could. I don't have a way to stop them from doing that. But as far as for a case or anything like that, I mean, that's the whole reason they're called crime fighters and they're in this. So when we've had discussions, they don't plan on, that's why they want to own it.
Okay, it's just, it's not in the contract, so.
I understand.
When we get there, they could say it
I
didn't happen. But again, I love the idea of the cameras. I just want to make sure we're clear.
Right. And if I was paying something for them, I would be a lot more demanding. We would be able to say, okay, I'm paying for this. So, if I'm hiring Ben Mars to do something for me, I should have a contract with him that says I'm paying you so you will do this. If Ben Mars says I'm doing something for free and I like what he's doing, I'm going to say thank you. So you lose some aspect when you're not paying.
Okay.
That there is some aspect to that, thank you out of the goodness of your heart that you're doing something for me. That's all I can do. How demanding can you be when a company's coming in with a huge investment and doesn't have a charge?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, they're doing this around Acadiana, different cities and all.
Yes, ma'am.
And their cameras are free and everything. So what's in it for them?
That has been, I have asked that question. I meant
They
them.
getting something out of it.
I
promise you.
I don't say they're not. It's not costing us anything, and we are solving crimes. And our city is
We don't know the
safer.
cost yet.
Well, we signed a contract that doesn't have a cost. And if it does have a cost and we don't like it, I can get out of the contract.
I just would like to know what they do.
I don't know that you're going to get there. The guy says that he is dedicated to crime fighting. He has these all over the place. He has spent millions of dollars of his own money and put these cameras up in many, many cities and is adding more every day. I'm just going to say thank you. Do I think that there is a master plan in this? Yeah, probably so. Do I know what it is? No, I don't. Do I know that my town would benefit and that this is something that we desperately need and could help solve crimes and stop these shootings? I do know that. And it's not just shootings. We have, unfortunately, we have property crimes. We have other crimes. And Mr. Broussard's not wrong. The first thing we do is immediately go in a neighborhood and look for doorbell cameras, look for security cameras, look for and we ask them for it. And if we have to get a court order to get it, we do. Because, that's the world we live in, and video is king. Unfortunately, not everyone has them. And, you want to know, no one's asked where the cameras are located. They're located in the highest crime areas, and they all have been located by incidents of crime that we've documented over the last 2 years as we've had a police department. We've mapped our crime, and so these cameras are going in the highest crime areas. That's how it was picked, where I know they could do the most good.
So, I know we're strapped for cash, but I know we've kind of gotten some CARES money. Have we thought about putting in our own cameras so we can have real-time data, so we can watch and, and then own our data? Have we looked at the cost of that? I know this is great. I mean, this is a really nice offer. I'm just wondering if we thought about maybe buying our own so that we can own the system.
We have, and we didn't think we could afford that.
Okay.
Because 65 cameras, and it's not just the cameras, it's all the back of the, that more than anybody.
Yeah,
it's all
I
the
know.
back of the house cost.
Right.
And then in addition to that, it's who's monitoring them and who's doing the research. In other words, when you have an incident, it takes them, you can imagine going back through, they have it segmented by each community, but going back through all of those cameras to find out, because some of these have LPR, which is tied into the state. So you're looking at, when the getaway car is leaving and you have all 4 directions covered, you got to go start searching a bunch of times to see when did that car come to town. Let's say we know it's a blue Cutlass, okay? Then you got to know when was the blue Cutlass coming into town, where did it leave town, where did it go while it was in town. All of that tracking through the state system is through him. But the amount of time that takes and the people we would have tied up in payroll doing that as well, would really be expensive.
Okay. I'm just trying to
I understand.
make sure we're covering our bases.
Jeff?
Yeah, a couple things. Metadata is really the data about the data. It's the information about the information. So
That's correct.
That's right. So I don't know how this operation can sell metadata from these locations. I could understand if you wanted the metadata for a Walmart parking lot, that would be marketable stuff because you'd want to know about the shoppers, the number, but I can't figure it out. But once you figure it out, we'll
No, I'm
cancel
not
this
saying that I
contract
have-
and we'll sell it and we'll make the money.
Yeah, and you're right. And she might be the one to figure it out.
That's
You
right,
figure it
that's
out.
right. So-
Listen, all
I could be
I'm
a profit
saying
center.
is that the one thing I know is that data is for sale. You couldn't imagine how much of your data is being sold today just because you turn on location services on your phone, because anybody can tap into that and sell that information. So what I'm saying is that as a city enters into a contract, we have no idea. Young people can think of almost anything to do with data. So we don't know in 5 years if we decide to cancel this service, what could happen with our data. And we don't know what's going to be collected yet because the cameras haven't started collecting. So I'm not saying don't do this. I just want to make sure we're clear. We don't own the data and we don't know what will happen if the contract ends. We don't have any control over what they do with that information that belongs to our city. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have a more down-to-earth warning. As the Mayor Pro Tem pointed out at the last meeting, if they shoot these things, we got to pay for them.
We do.
Yeah.
So
do.
that's something we need to
And they
consider.
have a wide range of field of vision, and they have cameras that cross fields of vision. So I can pretty well tell you, if you shoot them, you can't shoot them that fast, you will be caught. Because I asked that question and looked at the field of fire, if you will, of the cameras, the field of vision of the cameras. You will not be able to shoot all those cameras without them getting a picture of you, and they're very high resolution. So I'm pretty sure you're going to get caught.
If you get caught, we're still going to pay for the camera.
But we will have to pay for the camera. You are correct.
That's it.
And that is in their contracts in other communities. So I do know that. Anybody else? Yes, yeah, sure. No, look, we spent this long on the garage sale. Keep going.
So basically, I'm listening and I'm listening to you as well. I will say this up front, I do agree with what's going on. I'm gonna vote for it, this to go through, just my opinion.
Sure.
But my question is, are you concerned more of a liability standpoint? Or say like, okay, so we hit the off button and someone can use this data and then it's not used correctly and they can come back to the city and either file suit on the city's behalf, or not the city's behalf, but file suit on the city for not using that data correctly, or the company that's actually doing it. So that's what, is it a liability issue, or is more you just scared somebody's gonna have that data and do what they want with it?
Well, it's a liability. We could come back because we didn't have control over the data, but it was our data.
And we're
we were-
responsible
right.
for it.
The second part of it also is also, they could sell it. We don't know what they would do with the data. I mean, that data could be used all kinds of different ways. And I'm just saying, we should be well aware of what we're stepping into, because that is something that's not normally put in a contract where you don't have control over your data.
Mhm.
But this is but Freddie made a good point. This is a free contract, so, they're gonna say, well, we own the data. Any other time, you would say, I want my data either downloaded or I want it to be deleted when I discontinue this contract with you. Isn't normal for you to let people keep your data.
Right. Okay.
But it's also not financial data. And I'm with you. I'm trying to be imaginative and figure out what are they getting, because people walking on the street, people riding bicycles on the street, people driving in cars. Because I'm not just thinking about the people who are committing the crimes, okay?
No.
In the normal day-to-day, people dropping their kids off, people riding around town, shopping.
People meeting up for a liaison.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. But still, those, I'm trying to think of what in a normal day.
Stop the loitering.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Stop the loitering.
What in a normal day are they going to get that they're mining to sell? That's a little
You know what?
above me, but you never know.
Exactly. I don't know what young
I see
people
that.
can dream up.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure we're
Yeah.
all aware. That's it.
I understand. And I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I have one more question.
That's
Can
right.
we use these cameras to enforce yard sales?
Yeah, really, huh? Good question. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have not spoken on this yet.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Let me add to it.
You can. You should.
I was there at the town hall meeting and I heard all of y'all constituents. They need the cameras. I mean, it seems like they feel like they need extra protection, and the cameras, I think, would provide that. We have a lot of households in our neighborhood with cameras, and it's just been so beneficial to help solve crimes. One of our cameras caught a vehicle that picked up one of the children that was kidnapped from my neighborhood. So we were able to pinpoint what time and what the vehicle was because of this camera. And I'm sure the ones that are going to be put out in the city are way more high-tech than that. This was just a home surveillance. And I get what you're saying about if it ends, what's going to happen with the data. But it's almost like we kind of have no choice at this point, with everyone kind of complaining about all the crime. I think it would be helpful in solving crime, and the good definitely outweighs the bad.
I
That's
wish
just
we
my
would have.
opinion.
I wish we would have mentioned it last night, just to get their reaction.
I tried to say that the cameras were
did.
coming. I did, but
It was loud.
Yeah, it was loud. It was loud. It was loud.
I don't remember
It's
hearing it,
okay.
so it
It's
was
okay.
very loud.
It was very loud, so I did mention the cameras.
Okay.
It's okay. All right. Anybody else?
Comment. I think he might be using it as a tax write-off. I mean,
At the minimum, huh? You would think it's it's a free service.
It is a free service to change the world.
He could come back in a year and say, now it's gonna cost you.
Yeah, and that's why we have the out clause in case we can't afford it. And then we're gonna have our in-house IT person, Dee Dee, helping us get some cameras. But we'll address that when we get there. Might be a good problem now. Anybody else? Good discussion. I would ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you very much. Now we move on to 7E.
Adoption of ordinance number 2021-07, approving change order number 3 on the Teak Bayou Wastewater Treatment Plant for Equalization Basin Levee Repairs Project, and authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute any and all contracts or documentation in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilman Broussard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Marcotte. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you very much. Now we move on to item 8, Councilman's remarks, and I'm going to start with Brooke.
Going back to the town hall meeting, I did want to speak, but there was no time for me to speak. There were so many people that wanted to talk. Just kind of a recommendation for people living in the neighborhoods where they feel like there's a whole lot of crime. I always tell my neighbors, if you see something, say something. To communicate just makes things so much easier. And that just basically helps solve things much quicker than just sitting at home complaining that nothing's getting done. You can call the police department anonymously. You don't have to tell them who you are. I don't know if many people know that. So they can report things that way. Or even if they feel comfortable calling one of you guys and having y'all maybe report it, that could work too. So I just wanted to point that out. And also, Councilman Swear saved a little 3-year-old. He probably doesn't want me to say anything, but I put it on Facebook already. In my neighborhood, there was a 3-year-old child that was riding his bike, got out of the grandmother's house while they were napping, and was about to cross Jane Street where it turns into highway, St. Martinville Highway. So super busy street, and he stumbled across this 3-year-old and got the 3-year-old to the side of the road, called NIPD, and then called me. And then I was able to put out an alert on our Facebook page and find out who the family was for the child. So thank you, Dustin, for doing that. We appreciate it. And that's it.
Thank you very much. That's awesome, dude.
We didn't hear the rest of us do.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming out last night. We did have a real town hall meeting. And I definitely want to thank, I want to, in no way do I want to take any glory, but I want to thank Ms. Deidre, Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter and Councilman Dede for partnering together to make this happen. And that's all. Ms. Ledbetter, did you bring the points that were taken away last night? Did you?
I didn't type them up.
Okay, no, just because I'm going to expound. What the people wanted was, they wanted programs, they wanted community policing, and they wanted to kind of know, does the city have a plan to do those two things? And that's kind of what I got of it. There was a lot of other stuff said, but there'll be more forthcoming, and it's all about trying to make a difference in our community. That's it, man.
Thank you. Councilman Broussard.
Mr. Mayor, the governor this afternoon went into stage 3.
Yes.
That'll help our community, I think. Open up some of the businesses. And maybe we're on the recovery stage. You know, it looks like this vaccine must be doing some good. Anybody with a doubt about taking the vaccine, better throw it out the door. At least go do it. It didn't kill me. A few of y'all that took it, I haven't seen anybody that got sick taking that vaccine. I think it's on the upswing. So please, anybody that can take the vaccine, please go do it. Just because you caught it, the virus, and you got finished with it, you might not be told to finish. So please take the vaccine.
Thank you, sir.
Just a brief comment. I just, on tonight's agenda, I see a lot of momentum with some of the issues we're discussing. I'm encouraged. I'm excited. I like the knowledge, what I see from the council. I like the interaction, and I think good things are going to come out of it. I encourage each one of y'all to step up and start bringing some projects, because I think the people want to see that. They want to see things they can, like I said, feel, see, and touch. And until we initiate those projects, have those discussions, and start moving them forward, I think we're going to reap real huge benefits from our constituents. On a second note, I know there are plans. I can't release details as of yet. There will be a mass vaccination center at the Sugar Arena, forthcoming. 7,000 shots are coming. Can't give you the date. Don't know that yet, but there is plans.
Yep.
Freddie knows about it, and I think we'll release it as soon as it is.
As soon as I can.
As soon as we can.
I want to get as many people vaccinated as I can.
Yeah, and we're getting some feedback from the elderly and not getting notification of vaccination centers and times and dates. And I got a couple calls, so discussed it with Freddie, and I think they updated the website.
It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on the website.
And I asked them to make some hard copies.
Yes.
And get it to the, what is the, Miss Whipping?
Council on
Aging to distribute to the
Yeah, we're
elderly.
just trying
And
to
don't
think
use
of-
the internet.
Just trying to think of ways to get it out.
Yeah, I'm just.
And
so
if
I'm
you have
asking
some
guys.
ideas,
Yes.
you know.
So the people that are complaining to me is that they don't have use of the internet, they don't have no family. So I'm just trying to come up with ideas to get them out there. So I thought the council on aging deliver 300 meals a day. They can bring pamphlets up. But if y'all guys have an idea, I think Fred agreed to make some hard copies.
yeah.
Let's distribute them. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Councilwoman better.
Yes. I do want to thank everybody for coming out last night and sharing. It was very enlightening and informational. And definitely the council and the police department and the other law enforcement agency will take everything into consideration and definitely try to work on solutions to the problems. There were some good solutions that were suggested. Our mayor had some, and some people in the audience did also. And we will be working towards making New Iberia a better place to live. And it, like was stated at the event, it takes everybody working together in order to make a difference. And that's what we want to do. We want to work as a team, the council, law enforcement, the community, in solving the problems. And crime right now is a main problem, and it's going to take all of us in order to put things in order and work it out. So things don't happen quickly, of course, and over time we should see some difference. So with your help and us working with you, things will be much better in the future. And also I would like to say, yes, the governor today did decide to go into phase 3 sometimes this week. Can't remember which date he said, but this week at the end of his last order that he sent, it's going into phase 3. So it's 75% occupancy now and all. But please be mindful that COVID-19 is still here. It's really not going anywhere. The only way we can combat it is for us to do those things that we need to continue to do, like wear your mask, social distance, and not go into so many crowded places. And also get your vaccination when it's your time. So please be safe, and remember that just because there's a vaccination doesn't mean that you're really not going to get it. It may not be as bad as it would have been. So the vaccination is good, but you're still going to have to be very, very careful and wear your mask. I don't see masks going out, being non-existent for a while. So get used to it, wear it, should become a part of you, and it's for the good for everybody. So we can get through this thing, and maybe by next year, we have some sense of normalcy. So do what you have to do and stay safe. And that's all.
Thank you.
So, thank you. As everyone else said, thank you for coming out to the town hall meeting. It was good to see so many people in the community involved in trying to solve some of these problems. We couldn't have asked for a better turnout, and this is just step one. We're going to continue to move forward. So please, let's not lose the momentum. Let's keep this thing going. Also, Ricky, for the Council of Aging, can you also ask them to find out how many seniors need transportation? Because some part of the issues, at least in my district, is some of the elderly people don't have transportation. So I'd like to try and see if I can get volunteers to take them to the Sugar Arena, wherever it is, so that they can, get their vaccination.
Cool. Get that.
And then the last thing is that I want to remind everybody that the Workforce Development Outreach event is happening this Saturday for the kids from young adults from the age of 16 to 24. Please, please bring your children to this event so that we can help them get jobs and some training so that they can actually get on the right path. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, I want to ditto with Ricky earlier about this council and what we're doing, and we're not disagreeing in a way. We're agreeing to make things better for our community, and that's why we're up here doing what we're doing. So I want to thank everybody for all that. Also, what Ms. Marcotte said earlier, yeah, Friday was a very hectic day, but I also want to not forget the ones that actually stepped up. That I didn't even get their names, honestly. There was another gentleman, another couple. So I want to thank them as well. It's crazy because it hit me because I have almost a 5-year-old boy and an almost 2-year-old boy, and my 5-year-old has that same exact bike with the training wheels. And when I saw a 3 or 4-year-old on a bike in that intersection, something just kind of in my head, it just wasn't right. So and this is why we speak about social media. There's good things and there's bad things about social media. And that's why I sent it to her and said, hey, you have this neighborhood watch group. It's good. It gets information out there. Within no more than 5 minutes, we located the family. So NIPD stepped up. They came and made the situation very calm. The child was absolutely, he was stubborn. He was a little boy, but he was just out there to have fun. And so that's where it hit home for me. I have two small children, and in an instant, they can slip away from you like nothing. So I just want to stress out to the people, just keep an eye on your kids, because it can get interesting like it is for me. So once again, thank you, Ms. Marcotte. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So thank you. That's it.
Mayor,
Yes.
excuse me, can I make one more announcement?
Sure.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you, Councilman Lewis, for reminding me. So I'm going to have an event on March 18th at the Masonic Hall on Ann Street for all the residents in District 5 and other residents. It's not just restricted to my group, who are interested in finding out how they can actually get some grants, especially if you're 62 years older or older, to repair their homes, and also for people who are interested in buying a home. And this is for people who may in the past felt like they wouldn't qualify because they have a lower income. We're targeting your group, so please come out and learn about these programs that we can use to help you to buy a home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First thing, I missed a meeting. I missed about 2 weeks of work because I had COVID. Went through that. I got to thank Ricky for stepping up and doing a good job of running the meeting. Sorry to stick you with that. I couldn't get out of it. But it's great to be back, and I need to thank everyone involved in last night. You know, to put on an event like that is work, number one. Number two, it's important. We heard a lot of things. We had a lot of discussions. It's all good stuff. I mean, it is part of the process. If you're going to act like a community, you know, it's not all good all the time. It's not all bad all the time. Communication is the key. So, you know, I got many messages last night. I heard them loud and clear. I do think that this is a catalyst and the beginning of having more discussions, of finding more ways, you know, that we can connect and work together. And like I said last night, everybody in that room wanted one thing: a better place to live. And every one of you that's up here is here for that same reason. You know, it's not for the money, it's not for the hours, it's not for the glory, because, you know, I've been here, you know, I know what you put up with to have a service heart and to say, I want to serve my community and I want to change my community. It's not always pretty and it's not always good for you either. You know what I mean? We get ourselves in a lot of positions. You know, look, tonight we spent 25 minutes talking about garage sale. Everything is important, from the minutia to the big issues. And you got to kind of take them, you know, all comers. You can't be selective of, I'm only going to deal with the things I like to deal with. You wouldn't last long up here. So I thank you for the team effort. I see it every day with every one of you, and I appreciate it. And, you know, I'm excited we got 4 years together, because we have a lot of challenges, but, you know, in our few months together, we're already getting things done. We're already changing the game. So for that, I thank every one of you. And like I said, I'm having a blast. I'm thrilled to be here every day. Civic Source, we still have properties for sale on Civic Source. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you.